Hi all, Chris here again. Welcome back to the channel. We're glad you're here. So, this month we are celebrating another retro computing event called Packvember. And in this month we talk about everything Packard Bell. You can see on the desk here today my Packard Bell Legend Supreme 1125. Now, spoiler alert, we are going to cover this today, but this machine is neither legendary nor supreme, and by the end of the video, I think you'll see why. Anyway, when I bought this machine, it came with a matching Packard Bell monitor and keyboard, as you see here, currently on this machine. But for purposes of today, we won't be showing that, and we'll be focusing on the actual unit itself. So, without further ado, let's go. Here we see the front of the machine. Notice the black and white logo. Notice that very interesting floppy drive as well, a little different. Notice that the model indicator is pretty plain, and here we do have the stickers. You can pause it if you want to see it. For the back of the machine, we can see our various ports, including one serial, an audio port, a modem port, a parallel port, keyboard, mouse, one USB, game, and VGA. That's pretty much what you get. And I absolutely love the sticker that says, "Don't remove the top cover." We're going to be breaking those rules today though. That's the way that it goes. And since there's no network jack, I do use one of my lovely Zircom adapters so that we can have network capabilities on this system as all my machines are networked. Alright, let's go ahead and pop the hood open and have a look inside. Be prepared to be amazed, and here we go. And there it is, the first look. Look at that power supply covered by plastic. Very interesting. Now we know why they said don't open the machine. That looks like an accident waiting to happen. I'm pulling out the modem card here, which is a 33.6 modem. It has a very interesting interface. And here you can see the other side of it. Definitely proprietary, you couldn't replace it. Here we can see our memory chips here, 72-pin SIMs, as well as expansion slots, as you will see here, for video memory. And also there is video memory on board as well. This machine is based upon this particular VX chipset that you see here. Here you see the processor heatsink. We'll go ahead and pop it off. It's not too difficult to get off, just a little push. And before long, we can go ahead and pop it off. And we see this is a later model Pentium processor. Very nice. Here's the other side of it if you want to see the details. We also do have, of course, two IDE ports on this system, primary and secondary. And here we have the hard drive, a Seagate ST33232A. Here you can see the case fan, if you want to call it that. I guess it's more of a power supply fan, but it looks to me like more of a case fan, to be honest with you. At this point, we'll go ahead and pop off the front cover here, just these two plastic retainer clips, and out it pops. Now you can see the front of the case with that cover popped off, that floppy drive without its face, the CD-ROM drive, etc., etc. At this point, I went ahead and removed these screws here, which was not necessary. I just needed to remove this one screw down below, actually, to remove the drive cage, as I'm about to do, and it pops right out. So you can see I've actually put the screws back in. So, now that I've popped out the drive cage, we can have a look at that lovely power supply. Isn't it something? Wow, pretty scary if you ask me. Okay, so at this point, I'm disconnecting the CD-ROM drive. I have to show you this cable. Look how short that is. Ever seen one like that? Pretty impressive. Pop that CD-ROM drive out so we can continue to remove other components. Alright, so at this point I went ahead and disconnected the motherboard. It does require a little bit of contortion to get out of the case. That's the way it goes. It actually went back in easier. You'll see that a little bit later. But here I am pulling that motherboard out so we can get a closer look at it. So we'll go ahead and eventually get that out after struggling quite a bit, and then we can put the case to the side. And here's the motherboard in all of its glory. Look at that. Isn't that something? We have our one power connector, our floppy connector, our primary and secondary IDE, and that modem connector there, which is also extremely odd, and a game connector over here. Also interesting is the battery on this system. It is soldered in. And here you see the BIOS. It is a Phoenix BIOS PCI Pentium CPU, copyright Phoenix 1992-1993. Here you can see the backplane of the motherboard. I just wanted to give this nice perspective shot as well. Okay, so it's time to now put everything back together. I'm gonna do this as a bit of a lightning round, but in case you're curious, you can see me putting the motherboard back in, lifting up the case. And it may have taken me a couple of tries of putting components in and out before I got everything right. CD-ROMs back in, putting that modem back in, which I actually had to take out a second time. But before long, we have everything back in, drive cage, getting everything all connected. Yeah, it's quite the ordeal. I sped this up quite a bit, but before long, we had it all back together and we're good to go. Now it's just time to put on a couple of finishing touches like, cosmetically the front cover case. So we'll go ahead and put that on. And then from there, we can go ahead and put on the top cover case. And this took me a couple of times to line up, but eventually I got it and we were good to go. So once I finally get it aligned here, we can turn the machine around and put in those 2 screws. Notice the missing screw at the top. That was a security screw. I guess I could put a normal screw back in at some point, but I had to actually use pliers to get it out. And we're good to go. So at this point, we will power up and look at software. Remember that sticker? Power buttons in the back, as well as the power connector as you would expect. But there is a sleep button on the front, which you can press and put the machine to sleep, and it will blink right at you until you are annoyed forever. Or maybe that's orange. Anyway, so when the machine powers up, we see a logo, as well as a memory count, and we see that Pentium 200 MHz processor that is detected, counting up all of the memory here, as well as the hard drive and CD-ROM drive detected, so that's pretty cool. And the nice setup utility page with all of the system details. I went ahead and rebooted again so I can show you the BIOS. There's nothing spectacular here, but I thought you'd like to see it. Just your standard main page there, a plug-and-play OS setting that we have here, and some peripherals to configure. I'm surprised there's actually not more, but this gets the job done, so that's kind of cool. And moving on, we can see security, which is pretty standard, and power, and of course your boot menu as well. If we go to the hard drive down here, we will see that Seagate hard drive model number. That's pretty much it, but that's the BIOS. Wanted to show you in case you wanted to see it. At this point, I'll go ahead and boot Windows 95 and I'll speed up the boot process a little bit and show you the Cyber Trio that is installed on the system for Kids, Basics, and Advanced. Let's go to Kiddos mode because after all, we're here to have some fun, and we can see that nice background and lots of great kids games like, well, Dr. Blackjack. That's a great kids game. Anyway, yeah, I guess if you wanted to launch that, that's fine. At this point, I wanted to go to another mode, so I thought I'd do the only logical thing and actually close all programs and log in as a different user. However, I quickly learned this is not the way to do this. What you actually have to do is go to the Start menu, go to Programs, and then you can choose if you want to go to a different mode. So at this point, we'll go to Basics mode, and we can see what that looks like. So Basics mode, this would probably be the mode that most people used on the computer, so that's fine. We'll see that launch here in a minute. We do get to do the login as you would expect. Of course, I have not powered this on since daylight savings time, so it's wanting to update that. That's fine. In any event, we can go to my computer at this point and we'll notice something, and that is that once we load this here, go to Properties, we will notice that there are several missing tabs. There's no Device Manager, etc., etc. So I went ahead to Advanced mode, and now I can go to Device Manager and the Hardware Profiles, and we can look at all the different devices on the system, that Sony CD-ROM, which I actually replaced because the original CD-ROM broke, that Mach 64 video card, standard floppy controller, as is the case with Windows 95, your hard drive controllers, your keyboard. But for the modems, we'll see here in a minute, that nice Packard Bell 3336 modem, which is proprietary and hard to find drivers for. I don't have a monitor set, the mouse is per standard, PS2 compatible, no network adapters because I don't have the Zercom configured in this mode. We have our various ports, and we have our Packard Bell sound as well, also hard to find drivers for. And then we have all of our various system devices, that VX chipset that we saw earlier. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Now this machine is also great for Windows for Workgroups 3.1.1, and I was able to find the drivers I need. So you can play games like Oregon Trail, or if you like other games, you can play games like, well, let's see here, maybe Chips Challenge. I'll go ahead and load that as well. I'll even try and maximize the screen here in just a second, and you will see that, well, it doesn't get any bigger, but that's just the way that it goes. All right, well, that's what I had for you today. The Packard Bell Legend Supreme 1125. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. What are you waiting for? I've been waiting for you, so please do subscribe. And ring that notification bell. You'll be notified when new videos are available. If you liked what you saw, please give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. In all cases, as always, It's been great having you along for the retro journey. I hope you're having a very happy Packvember, and I can't wait to see you until next time. But until then, bye for now.